Welcome to NomadMedia Automotive Tales, where we tell vehicle stories, a little bit of history, and some unique and personal experiences. Let's get right into it. Welcome back, and today I have Michael Tavis with his 2019 Dodge Challenger Widebody Scat Pack. I actually met Michael here through some car clubs that we were involved with. We go to car shows all the time, and I think the biggest one I've ever been to with you was actually the 2023 World of Wheels.
Correct.
Which participated. I participated with the Charger, which plenty of people I think have seen these. They know about the Charger and things like that. You know, and I think we both actually won something in that show. And as we were bragging on Dwight here earlier, I don't know if this video is coming before or after, but you know, as I was bragging on him here, we were at the same show, all having a good time, you know, just, it's a lot of fun, you know, and like, I think that everybody that's here, we've been hanging out for a while now, so it's like, we have a good time with it. But man, I appreciate you giving me the time to talk about your car here, because kind of like Dwight, you're actually letting go of this beauty as well. So I had to like rush down here, get that chance with you, get your story, because I know you got one to tell here, especially with this I'm gonna call it wild. You know, it's definitely not a mild car, it's a wild car, you know, and you've got a wild story, especially with your character here as well. So let me just hand it off to you and let you start telling your story, man.
So me and the wife were out riding around one day paying bills, and we go by the car dealer, and I do a double take, you know, and I said, I think that's a Hellcat. And she says, well, let's go get the bills paid and we'll go back and look at it. So we go back and we look at it, and I find out, you know, 19 is the first year they came out with the wide body.
Okay.
And the wide body was available in the Hellcat in 18.
Okay.
So that's why I thought it was a Hellcat.
And I'll tell you, the wide body really sets these cars off, in my opinion.
It does. It makes them a whole lot different looking. The stance is different, the whole thing. But so anyway, we go and pay the bills, and we go back over there, and we pull up in the lot, and this kid comes out, and he's, you interested in this car? And I said, yeah, I'm kind of interested in this car. And he says, well, I said, but I thought it was a Hellcat. I said, I see it's a Scat Pack, you know, and I've been keeping up with cars for years. My dream car is a 68 Charger. I've always wanted a 68 Charger.
You're near and dear to my heart with that one, because that's what I actually want too. Even though I got a 70, there ain't nothing wrong with it, but boy,
well, when I grew up, our neighbor had a 68 Charger. It was yellow with the black, it was an RT 440 car with the black stripe around the back. And my mom borrowed that car, and she took all of us kids, the neighbors' kids, and us, my brothers and sisters.
Yeah.
That's how we got to school, was in this Charger, this 68 Charger. So that's how I fell in love with the car as a kid, you know, at a young age.
That 68 Charger, man.
Yeah.
Like, you can't beat it.
And of course, you know, now I'm 55, 60 years old now, you know, and couldn't really ever afford one, you know, because the price on them's just so high for, you know, a good pristine car and all that. And
yeah.
So that's what made me just stop and look at the Challenger. I don't really care for the new Chargers. I don't like the four-door.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
that's just my personal opinion.
It definitely changes a lot with a four-door,
right.
Especially if you're wanting, like, if you're the person that wants a sports car.
Right.
Because it's hard. I'm not going to say it's impossible, like, because I know there's people out there that have really nice four-door, especially modern cars.
Oh, yeah.
That are sports cars, and they're classified as sports car. And I honestly wouldn't feel comfortable saying they're a family sedan or something, but it's like, you know, that Charger, I think, you know, personally I do like them, so I'm not gonna say I don't, but it's like, and I think if I was to have a 4-door car, that'd probably be what I'd opt to, but the, you know, it does ride that line very closely as like, you know, if you get the V6, it's definitely the family sedan.
Right.
But if
Right.
you go for like the Hellcat and that Charger, it's a totally different monster. But then again, it's still, they don't offer it in a manual, which kind of strikes me as strange, but they don't offer it in a manual. And I learned that after I had already said some things about like, I'd love to have one, which even with the manual, I mean the automatic, I'd still opt for that over a everyday driver sedan. But yeah, it definitely, there's a line there somewhere with skirting sports car or family sedan, and that Charger rides it like no other car on the market, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, I mean, and they're beautiful cars, don't get me wrong. I just
Yeah.
prefer the 2-door look.
Yeah. If you're going to buy a sports car.
Right, right. So I looked the car over and all that, and the first thing I noticed was this is a manual car. So, you know, and so the kid goes inside, he gets the keys, he comes back out, he says, look, you know, we've had a lot of people that just want to drive this car, and so would you mind leaving your driver's license or whatever, and, you know, let us go ahead and run credit check. And I said, yeah, I don't have an issue with that, you know. So I gave him all my info, and he comes back out about 10 minutes later and says, let's go for a ride. And he hands me the keys. Well, you know, it's customary at most, you know, dealerships that the salesman has to drive the car off the lot. Okay. Well, he couldn't drive a manual car.
Yep.
So he had to jump in the back seat, and, you know, off we go, and take our little test drive and come back. And I said, let's negotiate.
I'm gonna have to say that's pretty sad that
Yeah.
a salesman couldn't drive a manual.
Yeah, well,
I'm sorry, teach your kids to drive manuals out there, because it's a dying breed and manuals are awesome.
well, I consider it an anti-theft device, to be honest about it.
For this day and age it is, but it has to be, like, I don't know, if I owned a dealership and one of my salesmen told me he couldn't drive a manual, all right, we're going to practice, and that's what you're doing today.
Right.
Like, you're not making a dime today because they're on commission, and it's like, you ain't making a dime today. You're going to learn to drive a manual because you ain't working here if you can't.
Right. So anyway, we struck a deal on the car, and when I bought the car, of course, it's the maroon. They call it, I forget what they call it.
That's fine.
Anyway, so I bought the car, and it was plain Jane stock, and you know, I drove it for, I don't know, 6 months or so, and I just got the urge to do more with it, you know, and so I start looking online, and I start looking at all this stuff. Well, in high school, you know, my last name is Tavis, so in high school, everybody called me Taz. Now I did have a bit of a temper, so you know, that had a lot to do with it too.
Right.
So, you know, so
Just fits perfect.
it kind of turned into, you know, Scat Pack, Scat Taz.
Yeah.
So I kind of named the car Scat Taz.
Yeah.
Okay. And you'll see, you know, when Brian does his video or his pictures or whatever, you'll
Yeah,
see I added a lot of stuff to it, you know, along with that theme. I did spend some time in the Marine Corps as well. And both my sons are in the Navy. And so I kind of wanted to give back toward, you know, the veterans and, you know, our military in general.
Yeah.
So I kind of military themed the car with specifics toward the Marine Corps, but there are other little nuances in the car to, you know, to represent the Army, the Navy, the Air Force as well.
Yeah.
So, and like I said, it started bone stock. We got to looking at stripes and stuff like that, and then I had a guy in California, Vinyl Imagination. I sent him pictures of the Tasmanian Devil that I wanted to put on the car, and he had some basic stripes and some basic hood decals that he had been, you know, that were on his website.
Right.
And I asked him if he could incorporate the Tasmanian Devil into those, and he said sure. So he sent me pictures of what he was going to do, and said he could cut the vinyl, what it was going to cost, and I told him do it. So I get the vinyl, and it gets shipped to the house, and it sits in its little roll for, I don't know, 6-8 months. In the meantime, I'm riding around in the car, and I'm thinking, you know, I really wanted a Hellcat.
Yeah.
So I go down and talk to the dealer and say, look, I'm thinking about trading this in and getting a Hellcat. And then the more and more I thought about it, this car's got plenty of power, and it will get away from me. Even like it is right now, I don't need the power of a Hellcat. It's just, to me, they're overpowered cars, you know, unless you're going to race them.
Hey, that's Dodge's thing, though, man.
Yeah, I know, and I get that. You know, this car's got 485 horsepower.
Yep.
The Hellcat's a little over 700.
Yep.
So, you know, but this was plenty for me.
Yeah.
Plus, I'd already had the decals printed and all that, and I would have to go back and change the one that went on the hood.
And you would have had to also, if you wanted to find a manual, actually search for the manual.
Oh yeah,
in the
there was
Hellcat.
no way I'm finding a manual car like that.
Yeah,
and I
it'd be-
like a manual car. I'm a truck driver by trade,
Yeah.
and I drive a manual truck.
Yeah.
So, you know, it doesn't bother me to drive a manual car.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's kind of the story of the car, and it just kind of grew, and you know, my buddy Dan over at Extreme Detail, he helped me put the vinyl on the car. Him and I did it ourselves in his garage. Yeah, we put every bit of the vinyl on the car.
I tell you, I didn't actually know that, or
Yeah.
if you, or maybe if I did, it was something you told me a long time ago. Because at this point, we've known each other a while, you know.
Yeah,
But it's like,
yeah.
it's if you did tell me that, I totally forgot.
Well,
about
I'd had it ceramic coated, and of course, in order to get the vinyl on the car, you have to take that ceramic coat off, otherwise the vinyl won't stick.
Right.
So I go to his shop, and he says, well, I'll get that part off. And I says, well, why don't you help me put this on? He says, man, I've never done it before. I said, well, I've done a couple of vinyl things, but nothing this big, but I think we could figure it out. You know, the guy at Vinyl Imagination told me it was pretty straightforward, you know, and it's a wrap material. It's not actually a vinyl material that he used. So
you can heat it up. and
you
it'll
can
bring
heat
the
it up,
stuff.
stretch it, and, you know, if you got a bubble in it or whatever. But
Yeah,
so we laid it all out and put it on there with magnets, and you know, and then we took the backing off and put it on the car, and then he recoated the car.
Yeah.
Okay. So then a little while later, I'm on Facebook or whatever it was I'm on, and I discover this Downforce Solutions out of Florida.
Yep.
And I said, man, I really like the look of those skirts that they're putting on the side of the car, and the front splitter. They had a front splitter, and they had just come out with this deal where they were taking a piece of acrylic and embedding some LED lights in it.
Okay.
So he was showing one of those in his shop, just sitting on the table.
They'll get to see some pictures and video if I can get it,
Yeah.
you know, of it at night or in the dark at least. Where
I've
they
got
can see it.
video. I've got videos of it from World of Wheels too, where
And I
it's
was
all
gonna say,
lit up.
I was gonna say, I
Yeah.
think I have one from World of Wheels too, so I may have something as well.
But so anyway, that's kind of how it came about. And so I drive to Florida. So he puts, you know, the first layer on the car, and it only had one layer. And I don't know. It's kind of like I want more. I want more. You know, I'm kind of like a dog with a bone. You know.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just chewing on it and chewing on it, and the next thing you know,
It's that itch for modifications.
Right,
man.
right.
Like, so I don't know if it's before or after this one. I'm always gonna have to preference that until I decide which one of you guys' car's coming first. But it's like when you see Dwight's car, whether it's before or after this video, it's you know, I went to mention it there with him as well, where it was like, you know, his car is the same thing. His is he did modifications to it, and it's like you do one, it's like, oh, I should do this, I should do that. It would look amazing. Let's do this too.
Right.
It's a car guy thing.
yeah, I mean, it's
most
a car
definitely a car guy thing.
Yeah. So started taking it to a couple of shows, and you know, I won a few awards and stuff like that. And then the next thing you know, it's back down in Florida, and I'm doing the Marine Corps theme down the side of it where it says Semper Fidelis. I had a couple of Bible verses.
And I think you have those right here as well.
Yeah.
Which there'll be some close-ups of these,
And
whether it's here or later.
basically, you know, even though it's a Bible verse, it kind of gives like soldiers or, you know, people in the military kind of a, when you read the verse, you'll understand, but it kind of gives them like an at peace feeling, you know. So that was kind of the idea behind that. And So then, you know, I start under the hood and I do all that, and you know, I don't know, you know, it's just like it's never ending. Then I put all carbon fiber in the interior, and I had the interior redone, cat skin leather. That's all custom work. Everything on the sides, you know, all of that stuff that's on this car, the guys at Downforce have a machine and they can cut it, you know, with the laser or whatever.
CNC.
But it's all my idea. Every bit of it is my idea. Me and the wife came up with all of it.
Yeah.
And now I have to say, my wife is like 190% supportive of everything I do. I mean, even to the point to when I bought the car, it was like, do you want it? And I'm like, yeah, I want it. She says, well, then buy it.
Yeah,
you know,
Miss
I don't have,
great.
I mean, my wife is I mean, look, she's the best.
Miss
okay?
Kitty is great. She's a hoot too. She's a hoot too.
Yeah, she supports me in everything I do. She supported me 100% in this car. It didn't matter. I mean, you know, and the LEDs, they're sometimes a little finicky. Yeah, I mean, you know, I have to take it apart and put new LEDs in it. And
I can imagine being in Alabama too. You're probably getting a lot of heat soak on them. So
I'm not so much sure it's the heat soak, but you know, they're supposed to be embedded in epoxy, so that they're not supposed to, you know, get wet.
Yeah.
And you know, and
so
Dave does a great job with it. You know, it just, you know, they're just finicky at times.
Yeah.
So, and you know, and Dave did an amazing job at Downforce Solutions, and it was really mind-opening to me because Dave races on road courses. Dave is the owner of Downforce Solutions, him and his buddy Brandon. Okay. And they're great people. Okay. Yeah. If you want a splitter or whatever, they're the guys to see.
Yeah, these things are amazing.
They're 100% aluminum. Okay. They're 100% chassis mounted.
Yep.
So it's not just something you slap up underneath there. And you know, I mean,
I want to point out, you told me a story when you got those installed coming back from Florida. The difference between driving down and driving back. Tell that story.
Yeah, I was fixing to tell that.
Okay, sorry, I jumped the gun on you.
I'm on the interstate. You know, it's early in the morning, and you know, I'm a truck driver, so you know, going to Pompano Beach, Florida, it's about an 11-hour drive. Yeah. Okay, and of course, you know, I try to beat the GPS everywhere I go, so. Off I go on the first trip down there, and you know, I'm running the car, I don't know, 80, 90, 100 mile an hour, you know, just cruising.
We're in Mexico when we're doing this, by the way.
Yeah, just having fun with it, you know, and I mean, I'm not doing, you know, if it's heavy traffic, I'm not gonna do that. I'm a safer guy than that. But
yeah, you're good.
So anyway, you get it up to about 100, 120, and it, you know, it would start just, you know, weebling a little bit. You know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
And so I go down and I get the stuff put on the car, and you know, Dave's telling me, well, look, this is not only just for looks, it's for function. It does work, right? And so on the ride back up, man, I'm hitting 120, 130. Now I drove home at night, so it's like midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and I get this car up to 130 mile an hour.
In Mexico.
In Mexico. And I'm driving it with one finger. I mean, I'm literally driving the car with one finger. It's not moving around. It's not doing anything. It sat this car down just like a NASCAR car.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing to me. So then I hit them back up, and I tell them I want a second set of lights, and that gets put on, and then you'll see under the hood, there's some under the hood lighting up underneath there, and you know, it just kind of kept growing and growing and growing. But to be honest with you, you know, I like going to the car shows and all that. You know, we went to World of Wheels, and you know, it's a great time, a lot of camaraderie. Dwight and I go to car shows all the time. We love doing it. We love sitting there and talking. I love looking at all the cars, the classics and the moderns. Yes. Okay. You know, the thing you have to keep in mind, though, is in 20 years, this is going to be considered a classic. Yep. And how many of those classics that are classics now are still going to be around?
They'll be antiques at that point.
Yeah. So, you know, and it's just my take on my car. Yeah. You know, and it is 100% personalized, and it is my car. You know,
And that's where I'm like, you know, some people don't want to customize their cars because it's not this car or that car. It's like, dude, make your car your car.
Yeah. When I bought it, it had 8 miles on it. I'm the only guy other than maybe the transport driver to ever drive this car.
And the people test driving it from the guy at the dealership that couldn't drive.
Well, no, I think I was the first one to test drive it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because like I said, it only had 8 miles on it. I don't think it had been sitting there more than a day. So
he was blowing smoke.
Yeah, I mean, nobody else has ever driven a car. My wife refuses to drive the car.
Yeah.
You know, and so
she's supportive, but not that supportive.
Oh, no, it's not that. I just, you know, I tell her if she wants to drive it, she can drive it.
Right.
You know,
she's got her own car, though, which I know about it.
Right. So,
Another
and
story.
that's a little different story, but, you know.
Another story for a different car.
Yeah, but, and that's kind of how it came about, and, you know, it just turned into what it was, and, you know, we talk about the car shows and the camaraderie.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you the biggest thrill I get out of it. Is watching these kids, the 8, 9, 10, 12, 13-year-old young men and young ladies that come up to the car, see the Tasmanian devil, and I have a stuffed Tasmanian devil that I put in the window.
And you know, that's so unique too for Mopar shows.
Right.
Because it's always the Roadrunner and the Coyote. And now you've got Taz up there too. It's like, we're just going to represent all Warner Brothers here. Or that's Looney Tunes, I guess. But, you know, we're just going to represent here. You know?
So, and I mean, they go nuts over the car. They love the car. And that puts the biggest smile on my face is seeing those kids.
Oh, yeah.
And to me, that's why I did what I did and why I do what I did with the car. And it's why, and the other thing I do is I have these little medallions, and when I see a veteran come by and you know, he says something to me about the car and he knows I'm a veteran or whatever, it's just a little medallion that says thank you for your support, and, you know, and I'll give them one. You know, it's like a little challenge coin or something. And I hand those out at all the car shows, you know.
Hey,
and
great.
so, you know, I just try to promote and help the veterans and, you know, do things for the veterans. This car sees a lot of car shows where they're raising money for veterans and stuff like that. I'm not super big into just a car show just to win a trophy. You know, I mean, it's nice. It's nice to be recognized, but it's not why I did what I did.
And I fully back that, like I've mentioned in many different videos at this point. It's like, when I go to a car show, I go to hang out. Camaraderie is a great way to put it. Run my mouth, meet new friends. And, you know, talk cars. That's what I go to do.
Talk cars, meet friends. You know, I'm still into the classics. I still love them. You know, I
win a trophy, great. I don't care. I don't care. Not, though.
You know, but you know, World of Wheels was a big event for me. You know, I mean, because you know your car's there 3 days, and you know, one of the biggest shows I've ever done. I went to.
I think it's one of the biggest in Alabama.
I went to Bama Coast Cruise In down in Orange Beach. Like the 3rd year I had the car.
I think Dwight went with you on that one, right?
No, he did
it's
not.
a different one. Okay.
And then Dwight and I loaded our cars on my semi and went to South Carolina to Myrtle Beach.
There you go. That one's the one I'm thinking of.
We did what's called Mopars on the beach. Now that organization has now moved to Florida, but so we went the last year they were in Myrtle Beach, and that's a big event. It's an all Mopar event. There had to have been 1,000 cars there, if not more, and it was kind of a funny story, and probably the favorite trophy that I have out of all of this is they did a light show on Friday night. Okay. And so we get up Friday morning and I'm doing a little test on all my lights and all that, making sure it's all working. And I have a light burnout on the side over here. And so I brought extra LEDs with me, but of course, you know, you have to take it all apart and all that. So me and Dwight and my wife take the car down to where my trailer is, my semi-trailer is, so that we could get it up high enough to get to work on it. And we take the splitter off. It was actually this one right here. And we take the splitter off and we're thrashing and we put the new LED strip in, and I have to solder it all in and all that and get it all put together. And we're thrashing all day Friday. I had a part coming for one of the regulators, because the LEDs are 6 volt.
Yeah.
So you know, you have to down the regulator with them, and so I'm waiting on this part. It gets delivered to the motel at 3 in the afternoon. Okay, so at 3 in the afternoon, I'm back up in my room soldering the new part, you know, onto the controller and all that, you know, to regulate the.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, you know how it is.
Oh yeah,
and
I do.
So we go to the light show and get set up, and there were some cars there that just blew my mind, really blew my mind. And I mean, they're incredible. The lights and all that they put on them and everything else. And so at the end of the night, they gave away a third, a second, and a first place. I didn't win anything. I didn't think nothing about it. You know, it wasn't such a big deal to me.
Yeah.
And come to find out that my biggest supporter is talking to this guy that's one of the judges and telling him about all the work that I had to do on this car previous to the show to get everything working like it was supposed to, and that we had gone to the trailer and done all this work at the last minute. So we get there, and I got another light out on the front splitter on one side. So,
Man.
and you know, I got a double set, so in order to compensate for that, I just unplugged the other side of the top layer, right? And we're sitting there talking, and Dwight looks over and says, "Hey man, your other light started working." So then I'm rushing back up underneath the hood to plug the other side back in so it looks symmetrical, right?
Yeah.
And so then the big show's on Saturday, and on Saturday they gave away a top prize for the light show,
Yeah.
and I won it.
That's awesome.
I was extremely blessed
That
to
is
win that.
awesome,
And,
man.
You know,
Yeah.
probably my best trophy, the thing you know, and I couldn't have done it if it hadn't have been for Dwight
Yeah.
and my wife helping me to make it happen.
Dude,
You know?
that is amazing. Now, I find it comical. Everything you went through there. Now,
I mean, it's all comic. It's all an adventure.
I can tell
Yeah.
that it meant a lot to you. So my comical thing here, you know, I'm like, I find it comical because I'm just imagining everything you're doing, because you know my background.
Right.
I know everything you're talking about. So it's like, I understand. But I'm sitting here just imagining you doing all this work, but it's so good that they actually, you know, like recognize that.
Right.
You know,
yeah, I
and
mean,
it's
I
just-
felt truly blessed, you know, that
Yeah.
I had no idea I was going to win this thing. You know, I was flabbergasted when it happened, when he called my name out.
Yeah,
So,
man.
you know, but so that I feel like that was one of my biggest accomplishments. Now, of course, you know, Dave and Brandon, you know, the guys at Downforce, they started this.
Yeah.
They got it going. And I'm not knocking those guys. They do a great job. But almost
Yeah.
every light on this thing at some point or the other, I have had to replace myself personally. So, you know, it is what it is.
Check
You
them
know,
out for the Downforce Solutions. Be a little wary on the lights.
yeah, you know, just keep in mind you might have to work on them a little bit. You know. Yeah.
But hey,
Yeah.
it's not a simple thing, as I've already mentioned. You
Right.
know, lights are. People don't think about it. Lights are complicated.
So-
They're a lot more complicated than you would think. So.
And unfortunately, I had to have some neck surgery recently.
Yep.
That's the reason the car's up for sale.
Yep.
I'm still not sure if I'm going to sell it or not.
I'm-
I've got feelers out there. I don't know. We'll see.
I'm
Yeah.
hoping that those feelers fail. I hate that Dwight's car is going to Pennsylvania too, but you know.
Yeah, but at least it's going to the family.
He's keeping his in family.
Right,
So that's where
yeah.
I'm like, I hope yours fails there. You know, but tell you, man, you have anything else you want to say here? You want to
No,
move
thank
in?
you. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Well, how about we get to hear this thing run?
All right. We
All
can
right.
do that.
Let's let it roar. And there you have it, folks. Michael Tavis and his 2019 Dodge Challenger Widebody Scat Pack. And boy, is that a mouthful. But man, I tell you, thanks so much for coming and talking to me. But I have to ask, on that 68 Charger, because everybody knows I'm a Charger guy, vinyl top or no vinyl top?
Well, the one I rode around in had the vinyl top on it, of course.
Okay.
And I'm kind of mixed. You know, yeah, I like the classic look of the vinyl top. But man, when they trim those things up and tuck in the bumpers and all that kind of stuff and do a lot more with them and, you know, put the big tires and the fenders and then in that case, I have to say no vinyl top.
Okay.
Yeah.
You heard it here, no vinyl top, and that's what I'm sticking with because I have no vinyl top. So. But man, the next thing I want to bring up here is your story about going to South Carolina, man. You know, that's great, and I want to point out to everybody, like when it comes to shows like that, which are bigger shows and things like that, be sure you talk to the people and tell them your story because, you know, I'm out here getting car stories and things like that, and a lot of people tend to think that when you go to car shows, people only care about, oh, this is the car, like I built it, it does this, it does that, it's 9,000 horsepower, whatever, you know. Tell your story about it because, like, tell what you did to get there. Tell why you came because a lot of the time, those stories on those bigger shows, they take that stuff into consideration. Like, they recognize those things and, like, they ended up giving you the best trophy that you could have ever asked for, right?
In my opinion, yeah.
So there you go. Like, and it's all because you're #1 supporter, and I'm thinking I know who this is.
It's my wife.
I was about to say, it's Miss Sherry, ain't it?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm calling her Miss Sherry, Kitty, you know, Miss Kitty. But I'm like, tell your story, you know, have fun with it. It's all about that. And they recognize, like, there's a lot of the word you use and the word I like here, camaraderie in these things. It's not just about the cars, it's about the people too. Like, so tell your story, you know. But with that, is there anything you'd like to say more to anybody that may be watching?
Well, I would like to say that the Mopars on the Beach event is 100% for charity. They do what they call Folds of Honor, which is where they do the quilts or Quilts of Honor. I think it's Quilts of Honor, where they give out quilts to the veterans and stuff like that. And they're all handmade and they're beautiful quilts. But every bit of the money that they raise at that car show goes back into the community, into charity, like for veterans and for, you know, whatever else it is they put their money to. And that's the kind of shows I personally like to support. Is the charity shows. You know, that just me, you know, and I have tremendous respect for our military, for all the people that have served. I do want to make a little shout out to my oldest son. He recently retired from the Navy. Put in his 20 years. He's retired. Him and his wife and my 2 grandchildren, they live in Washington State. And he now has a little construction business that he does.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
And so, you know,
what's the construction business called?
It's called Tavis Creations.
Tavis Creations. That'll be linked in the description below. Be sure you check them out.
Yeah. They do a lot of like bathrooms and like custom bathrooms and things like that. You know, help support him. He's a veteran. My youngest son, he's still in the Navy. He's stationed in Charleston right now. And I couldn't be prouder of those 2 boys. I mean, I really couldn't. So
I'll get all that linked in the description below on this video. And also I will link that car show. What was it called again?
Mopars on the Beach. I'm
gonna get that link down there too, so be sure you go check that out, especially if you like to support the veterans, which if you don't, why not? But man, thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to you. I'm glad I got to your car before you sold it. You know, I greatly appreciate you taking the time to talk to me, all right?
Thank you, Brian. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, man. And I'm sure I'm gonna see you at more shows whether you have a car or not, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Also, something we forgot to mention, Kitty and Taz also have a YouTube channel that'll be linked in the description below. Be sure you check that out as well. But with that, we're gonna see you in the next one. Peace.
next car show.
There you have it, guys. Be sure you like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.